my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming, and here we are at the finale of For Honor Fantasy Heroes. It's been really an up and down hill for this show. Tons of viewers on some, kind of good viewers on others, no viewers on the others, so it's been very interesting, but I'm here to finish it. I'm here to wrap it up. The last episode, we're doing the Faction Knights. I'm really excited about this one. This one is probably the easiest for me to come up with. It's also my faction, and the Knights do have the most heroes, so we could hold off on more to the Knights, that's fine, but wanted to do one for each. But before we get into that, I need to stop my babbling. I need to tell you guys that I don't have any direct line to Montreal, Ubisoft. I don't know what the next heroes are going to be. None of this stuff is official. It's just me having fun by kind of coming up with a fantasy hero of my own creation that I think would be cool to be added to the game. We've done one for each faction other than the Knights so far. Knights is going to be our last. And yeah, I'm just going to go over what that hero is, its backstory, how I think it fits in, and then what the moves and special abilities of that character are. So without further ado, let's get into it. Today's hero is the Duelist. What is the Duelist? The Duelist is going to be a fencer. He's going to use a rapier and then a long piece of cloth like a scarf or something along those lines. This character, I don't think we have any rapier users anywhere in the game. Like the thin kind of foil fencing blades, they're just not apparent in For Honor yet, which is a missed opportunity in my opinion. One of the few missed opportunities for the Knights because they have so many heroes already. I think that this character fits in. I mean, obviously, time period wise, when swords got thinner, it was much later than the Knights, but I mean, we're already having fun with time periods with a lot of the characters that we've already seen in the game, so who cares? And then the piece of cloth is actually inspired by old Three Musketeers movies. Not necessarily the Kiefer Sutherland one, but even further back. I'm kind of an old guy. This is Old Man Gaming. Back in the Michael York, Christopher Lee era of the Three Musketeers. They would always do this where they'd get in these fights with swords. They do a lot of punching and a lot of kicking, but they'd also just grab whatever they had near them to use in their offhand, and sometimes it was clothes. And I just always thought that was just such a cool idea, this kind of like just heavy piece of clothing as a defensive item while you're doing the rapier, and I think it just fits with this character, and I'm going to tell you why in a second and what this character does and how this character fits in. But first we have to look at how the Duelist would fit into the Knights kind of faction. I mean, when you look at all the factions, they're just trying to cover different areas, different roles. The Knights have the most. There's almost nothing left for the Knights that hasn't been done, and it's very hard to not kind of like pitch something that's basically an exact copy of something else. And while this character is going to have some things in common with some other characters, I think it will fit in enough. So he is going to be a hybrid. Unfortunately, I feel I've pitched too many hybrids throughout the course of this series, but it just doesn't make sense for him to be anything else, because he is going to be very close to what the Nuxia does, and also what the Nobushi from the Meyer faction. Basically, there is going to be a good amount of backpedaling and bleed kind of status effects that this guy applies, but at the same time, it is also going to be a lot of moving your opponent to where you want them to be. But even more so, his movement on the opponent is going to be much more based on countering and intelligent defensive play. He's going to be a little bit of a defensive character. So, as far as powers go, I'm not exactly sure how you classify his powers. He's going to apply bleed when it comes to his light attacks. A very small amount of bleed on his light stabs and pokes, I think, will make a lot of sense for this character. That being said, one of the big downsides of him, and we'll get to his upsides, and this is why pitching him is very hard for me, is he does not have a dodge attack and he does not have a good dodge. So I actually took a couple years of foil fighting. It's something I love. I wish I could get back into it or go back into it. This was when I was younger, and I'm way out of practice now. But one thing about the foil fighting and stuff, it's very linear, very straightforward, straight back. And now, yes, these fighters go sideways when you're using it, but I like the idea of incorporating this into his fight, especially since it's 3D, almost turning it into that 2D fight. So he can move, of course, sideways and four-ways, but it doesn't really dodge or anything, and his dodge is very weak. Instead, his defensive capability is in his scarf. So at any point in time, you're going to be able to press X, and his guard break doesn't actually rush out and catch the person. Instead, his guard break is replaced with kind of a blade wall type effect with his scarf. He whips out his scarf in front of him. Now, if the opponent attacks into the scarf in any way, shape, or form, he catches the attack and then he moves. He catches the attack and he has a split second to press a directional button any way he wants other than backwards, and he moves the person by dragging them. So he can drag them to the right, to the left, or behind them. And this is key. This is absolutely the key, because he's not going to have that dodge attack. His defense is all in his timing on his X button, and then the timing of the analog movement once he catches them. It's going to be kind of easy to catch your opponents, which is going to very highly frustrate your opponents, but he won't have those dodge attacks, and he will have a hard time with people dodging around him, obviously. So he's going to want to really keep them in front of him, and he's going to want to keep that scarf arm ready. So he does not have a traditional guard break. Instead, he has this counter guard break with the scarf. What's really cool about this is then, let's say he pulls them behind him, he then is going to have an unblockable, like, turnaround super thrust into their back that does a lot of damage and a lot of, like, just nasty bleed status effect. He's also going to be able to move them side to side and get kind of around the weapon poke attacks that all come off that. I feel like he should have like a light attack off everything. The same respect, if he backpedals, he does have a dodge backwards. If he backpedals and stabs, much like the Nobushi, he's going to be able to have a lot of bleed effects, but going backwards. So he can retreat really well until he gets into a corner. Then he can use his scarf to pull the opponent into the wall, maybe do that big back thrust, maybe do one of those side thrusts, just pull him sideways. In any case, that's what this guy is going to be about. He's going to be about that high mobility play, but only based on your opponent's movements. He's going to be like a statue until somebody attacks. And then he's going to have to time that scarf attack, that scarf whip, and then he's going to be able to pull them into anything. And this is how he's going to have to approach gank situations, which will be tough. But if his scarf whips out, he can catch anybody. So what I'd like to also do is make it so that if he presses X and the defense in the directional when somebody's targeting him who he's not targeting, instead of just a block, he actually can whip them. So at that point, you can start pulling people from around you to different positions in front of you, almost kind of just keeping them at bay, maybe even holding them off until reinforcements come, getting a couple pokes in here or there. I think that would be really fun with this guy and a really more interesting way to play than we've seen, especially with the ganking situation. So that's kind of be where the Duelist shines, is that kind of statuesque play and the timing of that scarf. So that's it. That's my Duelist. I think when he fits into the world, he's just a person who wants to, kind of like a very aloof duelist who makes a show out of beating high-profile opponents. And so he joins the war to just do just that, almost like a Johnny Cage type character. Like maybe the people around him don't believe he can do it anymore, so that's why he's in there. Or her. I think it should definitely be a bi-gender character. So yeah, don't know why my dog just decided to start barking right now. Super frustrating. But that's it. That's the last episode. And we finished it up. For Honor Fantasy Heroes, we're all done. I would love to do this again, or some more For Honor content in this kind of vein. You guys just have to give me an idea of what you'd like me to do. Whether you want me to pitch some more heroes, maybe pitch some map ideas, I'd love to do that. Or just more highlight videos. I've got, I think, 4 or 5 episodes of those out, and I always do more of that as well. So, and I really want to hear which one did you guys like the best. So all in all, we started with the Brawler for the Vikings. We fought with brass knuckles. And just rampant, like, assassin gank, brutal attacking. We did the Courtier from the Mire, who is a very defensive styled character and also all about boosting friends in combat and fights with 2 war fans. For the Wulins, we did the Sifu, which is a Bruce Lee style kung fu type character who uses nunchucks and is all about stopping ganks and controlling group opponents. We did the Zulu for the Outcast, which is just a straightforward brawler style beat 'em up artist who uses uni sticks and does a lot of interesting half superior block countering. And then finally we finished it off here with the Duelist for the Knights. Which one did you guys like the best? I would love to hear your opinions on any of this. You can comment below. You can also join our Discord, links in the description below. I influence this in all of our shows from there, and as usual, as long as you guys keep watching, we will keep making them. We'll see you guys around.